Hey friends, so in this video we'll talk about the differences between Nexus and Maven. Many of the times people do get confused that they have the same functionality or used for the same purpose, but that's not it. First of all, I will try to cover only the basics here, not very much detail, but will help you clarify the what are their real functions and when should it should be used. So to clarify, I would say Nexus is something a kind of storage, a repository where you store all your dependencies or your any of your application. The dependencies are stored there, or you can say not only yours. It's a kind of Nexus already has a central repository. So basically, if you're let's say I talk about a simple thing. I am developing an application on Java. So what I need, I need any version of JDK in my system, right? That is a local dependency. In simple terms, I want to build something, I need a Java JDK there, and then it will happen. And for the Maven, if I say, not the won't be the right example, but let's say you created one Java file in your system, writing some Java code, and unless you compile it, you won't be execute that file. First, you need to compile it. So what we can say, and once you compile it and share with others, other person can directly execute it on their system. So basically, what we can say, the Java code what you wrote, you converted, you build it into a software. Just for an example, and another person who has some dependency, of course, to execute Java in your system, you need some dependencies. Here, as we say JDK, let's say JDK on that system as well. But you compile that code, converted it into a format, and that the output, the build output, you shared with someone that person can execute. So you see, right? One, you need a dependency in your local system to execute that file. So that is, you can say, your local storage in your laptop, you have saved something, that which is a dependencies, which is exactly your Nexus is. Instead of saving some dependencies on your system, let's say you have saved those in somewhere else, in a cloud or some in some storage repository on the cloud, and from where you can download it at any time and use it. This is what your Nexus is. And when we talk about that your application, you convert it into some one other format along with your dependencies, built up in one format and shared with others, then this process, this exact function of building up your software into one package, this is what your Maven is. So that's why it is known as a build tool, a tool which is converting your code or whatever you have written in the application into such a format which is shareable with others, maybe a jar file, war file, any type of file, which is your build tool. And Nexus, that is your repository manager. That's the kind of storage you have somewhere in the cloud, and whenever you need it, you just calls it, it downloads whatever you need, and then you can use it. So it's not something like they do the same thing. They do different things. One stores your dependencies, and one helps you in converting your source code or your whatever dependencies in one format which can be shared as one package to others. So Maven and Nexus many of the times work together. We have many different other options as well available. But if you want to understand this, you build something, you have one source code, and that needs, let's say you work on Java, you work on JavaScript, then you would have seen for JS, normal JS or ECMAScript 6, 7, Node.js, AngularJS, you need a lot of dependencies, and you would have seen a lot of time for web apps writing that script, download this file from there. Or another option is like jQuery files and all. Either you download it, save in your system, and package them together locally, or you mention the URLs. Most of the times, if you have ever worked on web application, you will be knowing that you just mention the www URLs of the jQuery sites so that you can download it at the runtime, right? This is the same thing you do here. You write your code, you try to build up in one format like jar or which can be shared with others. So at that time, when you start that build process to make your code flexible, to convert it into software which can be shared, you need to download all those dependencies so that it can be bundled up in a software, in a package. That download happens from Nexus, which is your source repository, and then Maven is the build tool which packages into one, which is deployable and executable and can be shared with others. So in simple words, if you see, it's a repository manager which manages all this software artifacts. Artifacts will basically, you will see all the dependencies you need, anything related to your project, right, required for development. And build tool, it uses that repository and the concepts of the repository. Like we said, right, you don't save only one type of dependency, you save multiple files, different for Java, different for JS. And let's say you talk about Node.js, then possibly not single one file, right? multiple files saved at multiple places, then how to use that, how to download it, all the concepts this Maven uses. One more thing about Nexus, it's not only about retrieving and downloading the dependencies. You can publish your applications as well. Let's say I build one application, I download the dependencies, but let's say I want to share it, something with other developers publicly. I want to share, I built up a new JavaScript function which I want others to use, or any something, a generic application. I don't want others to just reinvent the wheel. I want them to use the same thing which I developed, maybe a function to calculate the date or today calculate something I want to share. You can just build it up and you can publish it to the Nexus. And if it's a public repository, people can download that from the central repository or from your public repository and start using it. So this is, it's not only about the dependencies and artifacts. You can publish and retrieve your versioned apps as well. Let's say one version that had some bug, or you wanted to enhance it, you publish version 2, 3 and 4, keep on publishing that. You can very well understand, if you have worked on web based development, you have done that. So JavaScript, you see, right? There are different versions available of that JS, and different based on what version or plugin you mention in your files, you can download the same one. And talking about same for Maven, you have dependencies a lot of type which you can download from Maven, like using Maven libraries, frameworks, containers, and all. Like, it understands and it knows how to download it. It know how to build it up and save it so that you can share it with your fellow developers. Okay. So that's it pretty much. Please let me know if you have any questions here, or we'll be happy to discuss more this in detail and on more advanced topics. Okay, so thanks for watching. Please like the video, share it, and subscribe to the channel.